Hi, welcome to the Pole Shift News, the home of the Mav Observatory. Guys, we're looking at some raw data that has just come in recently from China, and there's a bit of anomaly taking place as well as the one in Perth, Australia, which we're working on sorting out. Any time now we should have the new magnetometers arrive there. If you didn't know, what's happened recently in Perth is that we saw that there was a flat line on the data that we collect, and it was different from all the other data that we collect, as you know, it usually fluctuates around 2 microteslas over the month. And what's happening over there is wherever we move it to around in different locations, we've even took it, you know, over the Tropic of Capricorn to see if that makes a difference, and still we're getting the same results. But I'm confident that that magnetometer is working, but we have sent a new one out there to just, you know, double check what we're getting. And if the new magnetometer is obviously bringing back the same data, then that means that there is something obviously there. But we've had a little bit of an anomaly with the one in Hong Kong that Tony looks after for us. And thank you very much, Tony, for, you know, supporting us with, you know, the station and bringing the data in regularly. So here's where we're looking at the data changes from 18 and then drops to 16. That's almost 2 microteslas over a short space of time, because I've included the dates on this you know, data so that you can see. But I don't think it's nothing to do with the fact that the magnetometer's moved, because the data gradually creeps down, then goes back up, and then gradually creeps down. And there was a few incidences before the data that we're looking at where it dipped down, and then it stays at around about 17 on average. Let's go over to Pole Shift News and have a look at that data. But before we do, guys, big thank you to those few that have been supporting us. We've had very little support over the last couple of days, but you know what, guys, we're spending more now than we ever have done, and I've got to be careful, because, you know, I have spent the money that we've raised over the last month or so on all these components to build the muon detectors, and we've got some good news coming up a bit later on with regards to those as well. But if I keep spending my own money as well, it isn't going to be long before I get divorced before I'm married. So, you know, guys, if you can support what we're doing, then please do. I'm sure you'll agree it's well worth it, and you know, we are spending money all the time now. We've got to build some more magnetometers to go out to Brazil and South Africa. We've got one going in Bali this week. It's going out to Bali, and I'll show you where that is on the map a bit later on. So let's go and have a look at the data that's coming from China, so you can see what this raw data translates to when we chart it or process it. So as you can see, this is the chart with the data from July's readings, and this is the one from August. You can see the dates on the charts. It pretty much leaves off in July, where it starts in August, as we would expect, and then goes on for a few days, and then a dramatic drop. Not quite sure why that is. I was having a look at some other anomalies relating to earthquakes in the region. I'll show you that chart in a minute, so that we can see what's been going on with relationship to China and where our station is there. And you know, you can come to your own conclusions whether there has been I don't think there's been a continental shift on that plate or anything like that. I don't think we're going to go into the realms of, you know, crustal displacement at the moment, but obviously there was what appears to be just a 1 degree, probably 1 microtesla shift in the magnetosphere strength in that region, and we've obviously picked up on it. And as you can see, it has finished off around about 17. So it's dropped around about 1 microtesla on average over that period of time. So over here on USGS, we can see the earthquakes, and you can see they're swarming all around the tectonic plates, as you would expect, all around the region of Hong Kong. I don't think it is anything to do with earthquakes. I think it's more to do with what's going on deep beneath the crust there with regards to the magnetic intensity, or it could even be due to the magnetosphere being affected in some way. But we've definitely picked up on, like I say, a 1 microtesla shift that seemed to happen pretty dramatically and fast. So like I said guys, we've got a magnetometer leaving the Mavstar Observatory and making its way to Tony, who's going to take it to Bali for us, and around about the 3rd, I think it was, of October it should arrive there, and then 2 months after or 3 months after we'll start collecting the data. It will be in 2 or 3 month intervals, simply because you know, the people aren't spending all their time there. So what we're going to get is 3 months worth of data each time, and we'll break it down into the months, and we'll just enter it like we do on the Hong Kong, Perth and Gold Coast and California part of global collection of data, so that you can have a look at what's going on there. But I'll tell you why it's a good idea to get one here. It's because we've got an anomaly which we're trying to work out at the moment in Perth, and you know, having a magnetometer way north and close to the equatorial region of the Earth will be around about the spot where the Siberian pole meets that Australian pole that we've got lurching right up almost to the equator region. And if we have got a real anomaly taking place that's causing our magnetometer there to flatline, and don't forget Jeff took his magnetometer as far north as he could on a 2-hour flight whilst he was working up there, and recorded the data, and the same thing was happening there. And what that could mean is that the intensity, or the high intensity region, has left already that side of the Australian continent, and is moving up towards where our new magnetometer will be. And if that is the case, which we're going to work out what's going on over the next coming weeks, hopefully month, what is going on in Perth with that magnetometer, we should be able to put some of the pieces together. But it'll be a great spot, and of course it's another magnetometer out there in the field. Now guys, one of the channels that I subscribe to is the Ice Age Farmer. If you've not subscribed to him, might be worth going over there and just watching a few of his videos. I think you'll do the same, you'll subscribe to him. And in his recent video he's been talking about you know, the amount of heat that certain crops, or most crops, need. There's actually an index there that he's put out there that you can go onto his website and you know, plug in your postcode, and it will give you the heat, I can't remember the actual term of it now, but it will give you the region's heat needed to grow specific crops. So the important point about this is that most of the regions in the United States, bar the example of a couple like Florida and that, are losing you know, the heat hours that's needed to grow the crops. And in most regions in the United States it's down average probably around about 30%. There are some that are doing better than others, but on average, I suppose if you was to draw an average line, it could be around about that 30%. There are some that are performing even worse than that in some regions. So the Earth is losing heat, as opposed to the big argument that the mainstream organisations are putting out there, that it's global warming causing the crop damage, floods, etc., etc., you know, changes with our jet streams. It's absolutely crazy, because you know, we've got things like, you know, charts that show us that when sunspot numbers fall, you know, we get like this one, time periods classed as the Maunder minimum, or the Little Ice Age, and the Dalton minimum. But we've just surpassed a modern maximum, and if you could get later data than this, you would see that we are not going any higher in sunspot numbers. And when sunspot numbers don't go any higher, it starts to cool down, and we're in a period now where it's cooling down. And that, what the Ice Age Farmer picks up on, is just proof that reiterates that, and he invites you to go there and have a look at it. So you know, it's well worth, you know, taking some time to do that. On this chart we can see what's happened over the last 33 years. Sunspot numbers have continuously gone down, and you'll hear on some of these channels that if it continues to stagnate as it is over the last 3 solar cycles, not only are we going to get more cosmic radiation in, we are also as a result of that, going to end up with more cloud seeding, and it's going to change the climates. And the big thing about this, guys, is that for years, our ancestors have always built these ancient monuments, that like Stonehenge, the Egyptian pyramids. They all have something to do with the celestial alignments, and from those they knew when to put the crops in the ground and things like that. What I'm saying is, one of the things that made us able to divert into a modern technology and civilization that we're at the moment was the fact that we'd sorted out the seasons when we needed to put crops in and take them out, and how long was left of the season that we had, and if it was viable you could probably grow crops then, and if it wasn't, then you just didn't waste your time, or you didn't lose the seeds that you put in the ground as a result of there not being enough season left. Or it could be just equally argued there weren't enough heat hours left at that time. So the point is this, guys, if we keep losing crops, it's going to affect you, because simply it's a commodity. What's going to happen is the prices of food's going to go up. It's going to affect you directly, short term, in your pocket. If the weather anomalies continue to decline like they are, and we keep losing heat hours, then we're going to struggle to grow crops in the future to maintain the numbers of which we've got on this planet at the moment. And if we're looking at 30% loss of heat hours, that's going to reflect in the actual yields of crops and quality of crops coming out of the United States. And we're on top of the 10% that's lost already due to floods. You can imagine how this is going to have an effect on global agricultural output, and obviously it's going to send the prices up higher and higher. I was just scanning through this on the PoleShift News website, and I noticed this object here. I was just wondering whether it was a comet, because this seems to be entering closer and closer through the planets of our solar system. Well, something to keep our eye on over the next few days, see if it changes. But I've never seen something cross lines like this before on here. It might be just something normal, we never know. But just thought I'd mention it. So yes, guys, on the muons we've had a load of capacitors and resistors ordered and delivered today, and over the next couple of days we'll be putting some of those things on the PCB boards that we've had manufactured. And I think that's about it, guys. Bottom line is, food is going to start going through the roof, and if we don't grow our own, then we're going to be subject and forced to pay the high prices for food. As well as I know that we're increasing all the time our technological advancements, and as a reason for that, we're going to find ourselves out of work more and more, and that's going to even be harder then for us to buy food, because of the prices are going to go up, and if labour's flooding the market, the cost of labour is going to go down. And that's exactly what we've seen, isn't it, guys? Nobody's getting a wage rise. Food is going through the roof, and the reason why it's going through the roof is because, like any commodity, when it's in short supply, it raises higher prices. And when labour is in high demand, not so high demand, then you can pay people less to do that same job, and they will do it because they're desperate. It's as simple as that. So with the two working against each other, like other things, and in this time right now we've got the grand solar minimum and the pole shift working against ourselves with regards to the amount of cosmic radiation inbound. It just spells out a bleaker future. So you really need to start putting up some provisions for you and your family, maybe growing some of those foods yourself, because they're not hard to grow. You'll pick it up quicker than what you probably think. And there you go, guys. There's a link down there, guys, if you want to help support the observatory. Like I say, we're spending more money now, and it's like we're almost setting fire to it. with the constant demand for magnetometers, muon detectors that we're building now, as well as the cloud chamber that we're putting together. So if you could support us, that would be fantastic. And I'll say what I usually do, you know, guys, you have a great week, and I'll catch up with you at a later date. Or as always, bye for now.